You are now listening to the Lasting Legacy Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of the Lasting Legacy Podcast. We did surpass 100 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you. Since David wouldn't sing.
I'm going to auto-tune that for your guys'
and
ears.
so please don't. So we appreciate all the support and keep subscribing because now we have to chase down Street Champs and they're at 600 or something.
Yeah, we're right on that.
And we're at 100. So we're going to pass you, Derek and Street Champs, if you even watch this.
And the Still Spicy podcast.
We're coming for you guys.
The other 800 podcasts you have under that umbrella.
Correct.
I'm a little jealous.
We're coming for you. And then once we hit 1,000, we're doing a collab.
Boom.
Anyway, today we have a very special guest. Today we have Anthony Velasquez, owner of many things around here in Pueblo that we will get into. And so he's going to be joining us today and just hopefully learning some more information.
I think so.
From the older, wiser people.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Oh, crap. Older, wiser guy.
I didn't say it.
David's in his 20s, so he's still a kid for a
I'm
couple
still
years.
learning. So, by the way, my name's David. I own David Took It Photography, Videography. Try to explain that every top of the episode so people don't forget. But yeah, man, I mean, being younger, I feel like a lot of younger people don't ask questions to the older guys that, you know, or girls that have been there. You know, I've avoided a lot of mistakes in my life by living through and talking with people who have already done it. And I feel like you're a great person to learn from. So
that's awesome. It makes me makes those shoes a little bigger. I gotta feel. I do take that role model response. You know, I take that responsibility very serious.
No, most definitely.
So I've done a lot of stuff with people in this community. So it's been fun.
I'm excited. I'm excited to put it all into one place because I don't think it's ever been shared. You know, sharing stories is my other passion. So I want to share your story with the world. So let's start in the very beginning.
Damn.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm a Pueblo native. I grew up here. I did bounce back and forth between here and Denver. You know, went to school out there for a little bit, went to school here. Went to CSUP, which is really cool.
Nice.
Criminology, sociology, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny how we met, you know. It was really cool, but
yeah.
So it's different hats, man. I have different hats is what I tell people. But went to CSUP and I was grounded here. I love Pueblo. I have a hard time with people and when they say like I hate this town and you know I'm like, get out of here then. You know, this town has been amazing. This community has been great. It's been great to me. I'm very appreciative of this community. But I had a really unique childhood, and I don't know if I really want to talk a whole lot about it, only because I don't want to sound like a victim. You know what I mean? But circumstances were not in my favor. I was pretty much homeless when I was 15. And it's really just about choices, and I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. But I've had a lot of great comebacks as well, so it's been fun. I got kids. I'm married. I got a new puppy.
Congratulations. What kind of puppy?
He's a Maltipoo.
Nice.
And it's funny, like I was telling the lady who we got him from, I'm like, you know, it's weird how, like, this dog saved my life, and I didn't even realize that I needed, like, saving, you know? It's like he really is, like, my cool little best friend. I normally take him everywhere with me.
You should have brought him to the
Could've brought
podcast.
him.
Right? I would have been cool. He'd have been
shitting all over the place. It would have been
no,
awesome.
actually, he's really cool, man.
Yeah.
He's a good dog.
That's super awesome, man. So,
But yeah, no, I mean, you get into, like, my younger days. I used to own Mortgage Solutions, and when I got out of that, I became a police officer. Well, actually, I used to own Mortgage Solutions, and then I started a company called the Party Zone. We do those giant bounce houses,
Nice,
and that's always been fun. And
still own that, correct?
I still own that, yeah.
That's
You
awesome.
know, unless somebody comes and offers me some money, I'd be willing to sell it.
Everything's for sale.
Everything's
for the right
for
price.
sale. Even
Hey.
Brad here.
Brad's for sale.
We also are going to get a finder's fee if someone buys the Party Zone.
That's right. And then I'm going to shoot a cool video in one of the bounce houses.
It was really cool, man. I used to, forever when I was a kid, I'd always wanted to be a police officer. And when I got out of mortgages, it was an opportunity for me I got accepted into the police academy, and I kind of went that route. And while I was doing that, I started working as a cop, and I really liked what I was doing. And I heard about this position opening up over at the police academy. And I was like, man, I really want that position. And I heard from numerous people, you don't have the qualifications, you don't have enough experience, you don't have this, you don't have that. I went to the director and I told her, I said, hey, do you remember me? She's like, of course I remember you. And we start talking. And I said, hey, I want to work here for free for 2 weeks. And she said, what? I said, yeah, I want to work here for free for 2 weeks.
As a cop?
At the police academy doing training.
Okay.
And she was looking at me like, you don't have the qualifications. You don't have the experience to do this. And she was like, fine, I'll take you for 2 weeks. I said, look, I just want to show you who I am, what I'm capable, and what I bring to the table. I was only there for about a week and a half. They took the position off. They hired me.
That's awesome.
So I started doing that. That was a lot of fun to me. What was really cool is it was a college-based program, so I got to take a lot of college classes for free. And so, I was always dabbling in photography and kind of dabbling in graphic design. And for some odd reason, I was really good at graphic design. And I was like, you know what? I think this is an opportunity to go ahead and jump off and do this. I had lateral transferred over to a different organization, and I hated it. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I've been doing it out of my garage for a while now. Let me just open up this place called Print Pros, and it's been going strong, man.
The rest is history.
Yeah, it's been going strong.
Have you guys been in the same location since the very beginning, or?
When I first started, I was over there at the Arc of Pueblo off of Vinewood. They had a small little office for rent, and we took it, and I outgrew it within like 6 months.
The size of your printers alone are just insane.
I've outgrown this place, and so I really was 2008. That whole thing, it was kind of a really weird, unique situation for me, like, owning properties and things like that. And
let's touch on that. How many properties did you own in 2008?
God, 2008. I think we had owned 16 and 7 commercial buildings.
16 residential houses.
And they were, when the financial crash happened, like I said, it was the most expensive tuition I ever paid for in my life. I went to school. That was a old school lesson for me. I learned so much from 2008, and I didn't have the teachers that you guys have now. I didn't have safe zones. That school bent me over and spanked me hard, man.
Yeah. Now it gave you other complexes. But
we didn't have safe places, man.
Yeah.
It was definitely an interesting experience for me, but it was good, and so back to where we were at over there on Vinewood, I really didn't want to get another commercial building. I'm not a fan of the commercial tax rate.
Oh, it's not cheap.
No, it's
in case anyone's wondering, I don't own any commercial buildings, but I work with a lot of people that own commercial buildings. The tax bill I've seen on some of my clients' commercial buildings are more than cars you're driving.
Oh yeah.
Like,
easy.
And that's yearly.
Yearly, yeah.
Easy.
Damn.
And so with that, I was like, I didn't really want to get back into the commercial thing. Lo and behold, here we are. I mean, and that was another business that we have. I have a property management company, and we have, nice little portfolio that's just kind of sitting there. But commercial buildings are involved in that portfolio, and just did it a little bit better this time. Second time around was... It's nice when you have some education behind you.
Helps fuel decisions that
definitely
you could make.
So we ended up buying the building that we're in now. So now we're right next to the beer barrel, across the street from the steel mill.
Nice. Great location.
Great location. It's highway exposure. Plus, it's
quiet.
It's my old hood, man.
Yeah.
I kind of grew up in Bessemer, and I'm a South Side guy, Pueblo native. So,
nice.
Here we are.
No, that's super awesome, man. I was going to say, when we met, I was like, it reminded me of one of the cartoons where it's like you meet, the police officer, and you're like, well, let me talk to the lawyer or the judge, and then you're the judge as well, and you just keep changing all these hats, and it's like, where's my attorney? And you show up to represent me as well, so you definitely wear a lot of hats, and I don't know how you keep track of your phone and your calendar, but it's
all over the place. And the good thing is the people who stand behind me and the people who support me, they're understanding of that, you know.
Good.
Yeah, I forget to go to a client's place and do a measurement, and 2 weeks later I run into them and he's like, "Hey, I'm waiting on you," and I'm like, "See," and that's why I say I love this city, and that's why I say I love this community. This community is good to me, and I'm very blessed and very thankful that I'm here.
Absolutely, man. It's definitely a unique place. You know, they definitely support their own. So we're in interesting times as we become more of a melting pot from other states and stuff to kind of see how we adapt or if it's accepting of it. So I'm kind of waiting myself to see.
Adapt or
We're
die.
growing.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Oh, yeah. So you own Print Pros, you own Party, you have a commercial real estate, or I'm sorry, you have a property management company, and obviously you have more than one person helping you, I'm assuming, right?
I do.
So you have some employees. So how has that been?
You know, I've been blessed. I have some great employees. But I have a whole different philosophy the way I do things. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a great manager, but I do understand things. And I think a lot of that has to do with the people who I've surrounded myself with. I met this lady, and I won't say, last names or anything, but her name is Mary. And when I used to work with her, actually I used to work for her, she started doing things that the normal police officer was just completely resistant against. I don't want to learn that. I don't want to do this. That's stupid, What do you mean colors? You don't tell me about your colors. That's dumb. But I also used to watch her as a person and who she was, and I used to really try to model some of the things that she did. I took a lot of her philosophy and a lot of her principles, and I incorporated those into the way I run my business. So the very first thing I do is I don't look for people's weaknesses. Your average manager will find a weakness, and then they pounce on it. Well, I mean, let's just say you were horrible at making coffee. If every single day, and let's say you worked at Starbucks, if every single day I burned into your head how horrible you were at making coffee, are you going to get any better?
They're going to probably get worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I incorporated into my businesses is that I find people's strengths and I look for their talents, and then I place them accordingly. And now the whole time I'm doing this, I'm thinking, how can I be a blessing to this person? How can they grow and evolve into the person they want to become? And I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means you want to go and do this eventually and I'm going to lose you. Well, if that's the case, let me teach you about that stuff. And let's move forward from that. And when you are in that position where you've always dreamt you've ever wanted to be, I will be a little tiny part of that success. And that's the kind of stuff that fills my bucket.
That's huge.
I think that's huge because, we're not in the day where you get a job and work for the same company for 40 years. I mean, that's pretty much over.
Breed, yeah.
And studies have shown that you actually make more money job switching anyway. Every 3 to 5 years, you actually will increase your money. So it's kind of the times we live in. So by you being able to provide, I mean, the chances you find someone that works for you for 30 years is probably low. But if you find someone that works for you for 5 years and you get the best out of them and you help them, I mean, kind of best of both worlds, it seems like then.
It's a goal. We're both on missions. I mean, everyone just has their own agenda. What's something really cool that we implemented in Print Pros just now, and this morning was our first time we did this. I really, really enjoy philanthropy, man. It's one of the things that it makes me feel good about myself. And I've been doing it for years. I usually do it on the back end, and I kind of sneak it over. And because I'm also not a fan of accolades either. So it's like, let's just throw that over there and let's not talk about it anymore. But what we did is we sat down as a group, and I said, hey, look, this is something that has always worked for me. It's something that I really, really, my heart is just screaming for this. So what I said, every single month, I want to take something. I don't care what I don't care if it's $25, but I want to donate it to something. And so every single month, we all get to pick an organization that we want to donate money to. And so this morning I picked the organization and we went and did a tour of the facility.
Nice.
And what was really cool is when we walked out of there, I was really staring at my team's face, you know, and they were like, I can tell that they had no idea that this company even existed. And then they had no idea that this company has to do what it has to do. It's pretty bad, and we won't talk about it because I don't want to bring that up. But this is a company that has to do something that, you know, we shouldn't have to do. But we do.
Pay taxes.
And no, this
financial.
is something a little worse than that.
Yeah.
And so it's nice that we all get to do this now. So I'm the first month, which, like I said, I've been doing this for years.
Yeah.
But I want my team to be a part of this because I feel that if you give back to your community will come rushing back
Always.
to you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's worked for me so well. And because I am in the position I am and I want to go and do some other stuff, I want to make sure that my team follows in those footsteps that were kind of laid out before that.
That's smart. Yeah, that's
cool.
huge. Really creating the culture.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's been fun. And then it's really cool, you know, because they get to pick something that's meaningful to them now. Obviously, because of my law enforcement career, this is very meaningful to me.
Of course.
And so it's nice. It's just it's a different kind of thing than the everyday pace of, oh my God, we're behind on this and we're rushing on this.
Yeah, where are we at on this window thing?
Exactly.
Well, you didn't measure, so we don't know.
Exactly. And that happens.
No, of course, yeah. Dang, no, that's a really cool philosophy, you know, in a small business to have, you know, big corporation kind of mindset, you know, with bringing the whole team out to go look at something that you're donating to. And then next month, hopefully you guys can do the same, you know, still get the tour and, you know, whatever it might be, you know, but just to get to know these organizations more, you know, and kind of do it nonchalantly, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because we don't want a pat on the back.
No,
you know, we don't want anything like that. We really want, I'm blessed and I feel like God has kind of told me, hey man, you're blessed. You need to bless other people too. And so I've kind of lived off of that principle for pretty much my whole life.
No, it's huge.
Yeah, we don't touch a lot on giving back in charity and stuff, but I think it's very important to do it.
Very valuable.
You know, I every 3 months I donate money to certain organizations that I kind of pick, and I think I've talked to David about this a couple of times where like I've noticed like my income has gone up, but my donations haven't gone up, and I've been feeling guilty about that lately. Yeah, so it's interesting you brought that up. I feel like that's a sign too. Yeah.
No,
Well,
absolutely.
And it's hard when you have a business. I mean, you'll have a flood of people who will come in the door, and you know everyone has a cause and everyone has a thing
And a price attached to it.
and it's hard to pick. You know, I always do just what feels right in my heart at the time.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I've donated money to, or whether it was even just stuff that wasn't a whole lot, and I feel like it's always comes back.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't even have to be monetary.
No.
But I also know what it's like to donate your last $500 to somebody because they just hit those heartstrings, and you're sitting there like, damn, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And I promise you, God just provides, man. It's weird if you put it out. And I'm not gonna get all preachy and stuff here, you know. But
no, I get it.
I'm just saying, you know, it's sometimes I just feel like if it's in the heart and it feels right, you have to do it. And I don't care what it takes.
Yeah. And only you have that knowledge, and you know, only you can feel that. You know, I wouldn't expect other people to understand that.
But I also don't go to church.
Yeah.
So I also feel like it's kind of like my way of paying tithes. You know what I mean? Because I do believe that you should do that. So, I mean, I don't know. And who knows? I may be doing everything wrong, but I promise you right now, I can tell you it feels right. And if it feels right, that's just what I do.
Happiness is key. And we'll touch on that, you know, for sure a little bit later. So what was your first side hustle entrepreneurial endeavor? I'm sure it was before Party Zone. I'm sure it was before Mortgage Solutions. Nobody just slides in and just starts, you know, making businesses up who didn't have a lemonade stand before, you know.
Well, I will tell you that I was the guy who hired the neighborhood kids to mow lawns. And then I went door to door and sold the job.
The job. That's smart. That's huge.
And I didn't have a landscaping business or nothing like that, but you know, it was like, that was weird. My son told me the other day, he said, man, I would be blown. He said, can you imagine where you'd be in life if you had a mentor? And I'm like, I've had a lot of people that I've pulled, information from, and I've had a lot of people who've opened doors for me, and I feel like I'm extremely blessed because of that.
Absolutely.
But I would say that would be my first side hustle, and then it really was just straight into the mortgage company after that.
Interesting. So there wasn't too much before that. It wasn't like, I was flipping
Pimping
X,
out
Y, and
kids
Z.
and then
Pimping out kids and mowing lawns.
No, it was.
That's crazy.
How'd you get into a mortgage company?
So while I
That
was
seems
in,
random.
it does seem random, huh?
Yeah.
Especially for someone who didn't even go to school.
Wanted to be in law enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be a cop my whole life, and so I was in college and I started working for this company, and mortgages were hot back then, it was
A lawless wasteland.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, typically mortgages were 7.5%, 8% was your interest rate. Now,
So quit
you just bought
crying,
a house.
everybody.
You just bought a house. Can you imagine that? Because you were just telling me what rate you got.
Yeah, mine's 2.9. And I hear everyone like, oh my God, they're raising the mortgage rates. They're at 4%. And I was like, in the 80s, it was like 20%. It was double digits. Like,
I remember when you had the best credit, 7.5 was your rate.
yeah.
That's crazy.
And so when things started transpiring the way they did, I mean, mortgages was a hot industry because, Jesus, criminy, you can go to anyone and say, what's your rate? 7. Oh my God, let me get you 5.5. I'm going to save you so much money, and it was just easy. So it seemed like everyone was doing it. But I started working for this company, and these guys were ex-car guys.
Oh, Lord.
And so
Sales tactics.
it was definitely a unique setting. And when they got into a huge argument and they separated, they both were trying to get me to go with them. I'm the guy. And one of my friends at the time, and rest in peace because this used to be a really close friend of mine, he is the one who was like, I'll back you. Let's get this going. And I'm like, well, I don't even need the backing. I've been really saving a lot of money. So let's show me what to do. Tell me what to do. And he kind of incubated me and started in this business. And I started in this little hole in the wall. And it was crazy. Like, it was one of those things where you start this business and 3 months in, you're thinking to yourself, man, this is the dumbest thing I ever did in my life. And 6 months in, it was like, oh my God, I have no more savings. Like, this really was dumb. And I had one guy who's like,
do it.
I'm with you. And it's just me and this one guy, and we're doing these mortgages. And then all of a sudden, a lot of things had happened. I think the Enron scandal had come collapsing down, and that changed interest rates for the crazy. I mean, interest rates just really dipped below 7.5%. They were now in the 4 and 5%. And that's the refinance boom, and we were going crazy. I ended up buying a building downtown, had 15 employees at that time. It was crazy. We were having a blast. But it wasn't a fulfilling career for me. So
Didn't it really align with your morals or something? Or
it felt like I was doing more harm than I was doing good. This is also the time when adjustable rate mortgages were the hot thing to get, and I don't think people really do their homework. And one of the things that really blew my mind was how many people were so easily ready to jump on an arm rate, on an arm loan. And you try to teach people about how to read an amortization schedule. But I get it. It's 16, 17 pages long. It's got a lot of numbers on it.
Yeah.
It's a big, scary form, but they'll sign it. And so it felt like a job that wasn't fulfilling to me. So I got bored with it really easy.
So what did the transition, was that around the time where you were at the sheriff's department as well?
No, actually that was, so when I quit doing mortgages, I kind of was like, well, I don't know what I want to do. Maybe I don't want to do anything. Maybe I just want to chill and hang out with the kids and do that kind of stuff. And I promise you that didn't last very long. I need a purpose in life.
Yeah.
You need a reason to get up in the morning.
You need that. And I think a lot of people don't realize I am the person that truly needs that. I need to have a purpose. And
Driving
so,
your wife crazy if you don't have a
yeah,
purpose.
I need a purpose, man. And so I was like, well, I went to school for it. I want to be a cop. And so that was when I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I got accepted to the police academy, and I didn't really look, I never really looked back, but
Yeah,
it was a nice transition. It really was.
that's good. Straight to a for sure paycheck.
It was definitely a
yeah.
for sure paycheck.
It was probably less than what you were doing with the boom of all the mortgages and refinances and stuff.
It was a difficult transition. I mean,
For sure.
in mortgages, we would go to Vegas, drop $27,000 in a weekend, come back, and be like, yeah, who cares, and
we'll
just
refi.
keep grinding and keep working. As a police officer, you really can't do that on that salary. So
27 grand is half the year.
it kind of humbles you a little bit, and you're like, whoa, let me just.
I wasn't getting shot at serving mortgages. This is crazy.
And I'll make it way more.
Yeah,
That's
my law
insane.
enforcement career was interesting for sure.
So, I mean, we were in very similar shoes, working law enforcement and then still trying to push side hustles. You work 40, 50 hours a week, but you're really working the weekend to try and fulfill your dreams. So what were you doing then?
Well, same thing. I mean, as a police officer, I was still having people come to my house. I was doing graphic design in the back. It got to the point where too many people were coming to my house. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, what should I do here? This is kind of...
Yeah. The scale is tipping.
It was. It was like, should I go back into doing my own thing again? But it was also scary, I mean, this is also...
I mean, the police department's always hiring.
That's very true.
Yeah, it's a solid fallback.
Yeah.
To chase the dream.
That's true, but it was one of those things where I thought, man, what do I do? What do I do? And I thought, well, let me go ahead and just try this out.
I saved some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's open up Print Pros. Like, we actually called it a name, and we actually opened up the doors and
legitimized it.
Yeah. It was cool. But, deep down inside, I think I'll always be a cop, and I missed it badly. And so that first year of Print Pros, it was good, but man, I just felt like I wasn't getting fed what I wanted. Like I still feel like I didn't do enough in my law enforcement career
to make that difference.
So I went banging at the sheriff's door, and I'm like, I want to come back, and they're like, we don't have any positions for you, so I want to do it for free. I said, oh, you want to be a reserve deputy? I'm like, yeah. Let's do this.
Well, there you go.
Where's my badge?
Yeah. Give me my badge and
give me my holster.
Gator needs his gap.
Gator needs his gap, bitches. It was cool.
Yeah.
Because, again, I felt like I was still doing what I loved, and I was still doing what I loved.
Yeah. And you're still going to Vegas.
And I'm still going to Vegas. But it was, my law enforcement career was definitely cool. I mean, one of the things that I love about it is the community that I built while I was there. I mean, I truly have brothers and sisters in blue, and I truly have brothers and sisters in blue who are 100% behind my back. And it's not a gang like people say. Like, it's a brotherhood, And you know what? I always look at it like this. I felt like it was a fraternity. It was like that kind of connection, because
you don't get that anywhere else.
Here's the thing: if you do something bad, your brothers and sisters in blue are not going to stand behind you. They're going to figure out what happened, and then they're going to do what's right in the law. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So when people are like, oh, cops, they do this and they do that because it's a brotherhood. It is not like that. But I will say this. I met some of the greatest people in my life, and still to this day, I call brother and sister to some of the greatest people that I've ever met in my life. It is a completely different type of thing, It is a brotherhood, and I do consider them my brothers, and I do consider them my sisters. But it's different when you're all out doing the exact same thing, and you're trusting each other with with each other's lives.
Absolutely.
You know, and I know you can understand that because you worked in that world of, you know,
we all go home.
You want to go home at night, and it was just it's the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. It really has been very fulfilling for me.
To teach you, you know, people skills and like to deal with different people all the time, under the influence, not under the influence, like just to have genuine connections with people and conversate. Like some people just want to be talked to.
That's very true.
You know, they take, you know, they're trying to take a lot of the people work out of police work, and I think that's not good.
Yeah.
You know, you have to still be a caring person. You're going to be a shit police officer or a shit person in general, shit manager, if you're a shit person.
You know, and I would tell people that all the time. They're like, oh, you know, this cop did that. And I'm like, look, man, everyone has a shitty employee that they work with. Yeah. You know, everyone has that kind of crap in their organization.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Just not all of them have guns.
That's very true. They can get a little scary.
It does get a little crazy.
I have a question.
Huge.
Is there any kind of similarities that you see in your police work with business owning?
You know, I look at everything like this. Everything to me is sales. I am a great printer. I am a great graphic designer, but I'm an amazing salesman. And I feel like that's really my only talent. You know, I can't draw. I'm not going to grab this microphone and start singing, although I might bust a rap. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't have those types of talents. My talents lie in other ways. And I feel like sales is the way I looked at things. And so I remember one time we were in training, and we're out going to this house, and this new police officer, he's very nervous. I'm like, hey, just relax. I said, you do realize you're just a salesman, right? And he looked at me like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not a police officer.
We're about to kick the door in.
This is
like, selling solar? What are you talking about?
This is a badge right here. That's a gun. I said, we're still selling the piece. And so I've always looked at it like that. And so when I was out in my police, you know, when I'm out patrolling and I'm out talking with people, I'm thinking of everything as a whole, you know, because I'm not out here. And I think maybe that's what it is about being a police officer that was so amazing and so fulfilling for me, was that I got to work and do things that were bigger than myself. I got to work for an agency that's bigger for myself, because at the end of the day, we're all a team, and we're all on a mission, and we're all trying to reach this one agenda, and it's to keep the peace within our community. And so I always looked at it like that, and that's just kind of how I operated as a police officer.
I think that's really cool. I think it's a really cool,
interesting perspective.
Yeah, really cool mentality on it, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean,
now if you're gonna go look for shit, you're gonna find it.
Of course.
Yeah, if you want to go in that agency and be, oh my God, this agency sucks and this guy sucks, you're gonna find all the shit that you were searching for.
Absolutely.
But man, I found some great stuff in law enforcement.
It has a lot to do with, you know, like mental and like your headspace going into it. You know, if you're doing it as a 9-to-5, like, oh, I'm going to hate this. Today's going to suck. I bet you today will suck.
It will.
You know, 100% today will suck, you know, but if you don't find the positive in each day, then all your days are going to suck, really.
It's interesting that you say that. For the last 6 years, and it might even be longer than 6 years. It might be a little bit longer, maybe closer to 8. I've really been focusing on my mindset. I remember one time I went to this event with a friend of mine, and we're talking, and she's like, what'd you think? And she's very happy with this event. And I'm like, well, the food sucked, this sucked, that sucked. You know what I mean? I'm critiquing the event.
I thought that's what you wanted to know.
That's what I thought she wanted to hear. And she literally called me out. And she's like, you know what? You're a negative asshole. And she really drilled into me. And I'm like, huh. Okay, maybe this is why I don't have any friends. And I really took a hard look in the mirror. And as I'm looking in the mirror, I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, I don't like this guy. And I'm looking at like my mentality at the time, and I'm trying to figure out. I was involved in the Explorer program at the sheriff's office at the time, and what that program does is it takes teens who are 14 to 21 years of age who want to explore law enforcement as a career. And I'm sitting here, and like I told you at the beginning of this, I take that responsibility of role model very seriously. And I do very seriously. There's a lot of stuff I would love to post on Facebook.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I don't, because I'm like, I have people who are looking up to me. Mm-hmm. I have to remain in this whole, I take that responsibility very serious. And so I'm really starting to like focus on my mindset, and I'm sitting in my car one day and I'm flipping through the channels, and I just so happened to flip on Joel Osteen radio. And Joel Osteen is talking about something that blew my mind. And he's talking about being a victim or a victor. Now, this whole entire time, I'm teaching these Explorer kids, don't be a victim, be a creator. But yet I wasn't taking my own advice. And so it really had to like sit back and reflect. And I don't know why Joel Osteen was the messenger that day, but he's the guy who really like started flipping some stuff in my head and started, kind of making me think a little more.
First, like, little kind of intrigue, I guess, into it. And shout out the IRS for Joel Osteen. Tax-free income.
Hell yeah.
But
I could be a pastor. Lord.
So
those
how did
taxes are rough, Brad.
They can be. They certainly can be. Non-profit organizations and churches are a great way for some people, apparently.
We'll talk after.
So that's kind of what sparked you. So it's been almost a decade-long transition then of shifting your mind state.
It has, and now I really search for here's what I do now that has really worked for me. Throughout the day, it's funny how a lot of people will come to me and say, well, you don't understand because you don't have problems come at you the way I do. I said, oh, interesting you say that. Let me tell you about one of my shitty days, and this happens all the time. One time I loaded a machine wrong, knocked over a little reel. $1,395 later, tech support couldn't figure it out. When they left, I looked and saw that this was knocked over. That's a pretty much normal problem for me on a regular basis. But here's what I do in the mornings now. I wake up, I plan my day, I drink my coffee, and I really focus on 3 things that I'm grateful for. And nothing is monetary. I promise you that. Mm-hmm. I allow it to consume me, though. And sometimes I could only think of one. But I allow it to consume me so badly that when the shit comes at me during the day, I'm like, yeah, cool. So what else do we got going on here? It's no longer meaningful to me. It no longer serves a purpose in my world. And what's really cool about it is it allows me to really focus on someone who opened a door for me, someone who guided me, someone who offered me some advice that originally I kind of blew off, and then all of a sudden it made sense. It allows me to reflect on stuff like that. And what's really crazy is all this time I've been thinking, hey, I'm really good. I got this down. I think this mindset thing is going. And someone started talking to me about their subconscious mindset. Have you ever heard of this?
The stuff that you can't control?
Well, it's that little voice inside of you. And I didn't think anything about it. And then a really close brother of mine came to me and said, I want to run to sheriff. I want to run for sheriff. Will you be on my campaign? Will you be my campaign manager? Absolutely. I mean, this is a guy.
We'll get the signs. We'll get the photos.
This is a guy. He's my brother. You know what I mean? This is a guy. He used to be my sergeant at the sheriff's office. This is literally my brother. Of course I will. And I hang up the phone, and for the very first time at the beginning of this year, I heard my subconscious mindset. You want to know what it said?
Oh, shit.
You're not good enough to do that. You can't do that. You don't have the qualifications for that. And so now, I heard it, it blew my mind. Yeah. I mean, it really did. I'm like, wait a minute. I am still beating myself up over this stuff. And it's no different from
when you were applying at the sheriff's office, for that position.
Yeah. Well, think about this. If I told you all day long, I hate your hat. Your hat is stupid. That shirt is dumb. These cameras are stupid. If I just beat you, you can't operate these cameras. If I beat you up like that every single day, would you want to hang out with me?
No, hell no.
So why do you do it to yourself?
Exactly.
And that right there is what really kind of blew my mind. And so now I'm working on that guy. I'm like, listen here, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
We fight now. And it's weird. I'm sitting here just being honest, This is who I've evolved to be. And I can't wait to see who I evolve or who I become in the future. But right now, this is who I am. These are the things I work on. And it's my mindset.
Absolutely.
And it's my subconscious mindset. So what I work on every day.
You hear yourself more than you hear anybody else. You know what I mean? I've heard people say that before. And that makes a lot of sense. I was just talking to my wife yesterday. Like, me and her are so bad at, like, talking shit about ourselves. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I didn't clean the dishes because I'm a lazy piece of shit or something. And you don't think of anything. It's kind of just funny and joking around. But what I was listening to a podcast of someone called about their son having like that hate speech to themselves kind of thing, like that negative talk to themselves.
Yeah.
And the podcast host was like, a lot of times I had to learn from the household. And I was like, it clicked in my head. I was like, we can't do that anymore because our son is going to grow up to be that way. You know what I mean? So last night we were literally just talking about that. So it's very interesting, but
it's programming.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You're programming yourself, and then you're programming that doubt.
And those around you.
And then you're programming all that negativity inside.
You think you're hot dog water, everybody else around you thinks they're literally hot dog water, and that's not the truth,
Yeah.
But like you said, focusing on those negatives versus what you are good at, I'm sure, what you implement with your employees came from the sheriff's office. If it's like any other law enforcement, you have people in positions who shouldn't be in those positions because their weak points are the main point of that position. If as an immediate supervisor, why would you not have a people person in that? Someone who's approachable.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. You never want to hold that for your own business. You wouldn't want your weakest graphic design artist to, be taking on your biggest clients.
Correct.
Yeah,
it's definitely weird, but it's little stuff like that, just constantly never realized I was programming myself.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
you kind of have to, from what I noticed, is like, I think a lot of people grow up and just kind of live their life day to day, focusing on like, all right, I got to make my car payment, I got to pay the bills, but once you get like the basics of like life, your four walls covered, then you can really start thinking about like how to better that. And I think a lot of people have a hard time like financially to get to where they're financially secure enough to not have to worry about those things to keep them alive, if that makes sense, to where they don't get the chance to like think about how can I help myself mentally and physically. And so I think it's really doing a lot of harm subconsciously by doing that. And I mean, I'm grateful that I am in a place to where I can start working on those things myself too. I keep a gratitude journal to where I do it every night. I write down one thing I was grateful for the day. I kind of like the idea of doing it in the morning though, because it kind of starts your day off grateful instead of ends it.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that idea, but yeah, it's and it's a process too. It's not something you're like, oh, cool, I'm good now. My subconscious is great. My conscious, it's something you're gonna always be working on.
It's like going to the gym, building big muscles, and then you're like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then you stop going, and then you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I guess you do have to constantly evolve and constantly keep working on that.
No, for sure.
People get random texts from me all the time. I bet they think I'm crazy. But like, I'm a morning person. I wake up at 4:30 practically every single morning.
Oh my god!
And I'm the happiest in the morning. You want to ask me for a favor? Do it at 5:30. Because at 3:30, 4 o'clock, I might not even answer my phone.
Got decision fatigue.
We've been up for 12 hours by that point.
Exactly. Yeah. I tend to send people random messages at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's like, hey man, I just wanted to say thank you for whatever you did for me. And I want you to understand how impactful it was on my life. And so some people
Oh, that's cool.
will respond, and some people don't know how to respond to that.
They probably never heard positive reinforcement like that before in their life.
So this is just stuff that I'm doing. So prepare for text at 4:00 in the morning. No, I'm just
Perfect,
kidding.
right? Yeah.
I love it.
It's going to be written on my Facebook wall. Hey, man, I really want to thank you for
the Run
yesterday's
DMC
episode.
in the bathtub or whatever on MTV.
Oh, yeah, Rev Run.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's in his claw tub with his coffee.
That's right.
That's so funny.
That's how it feels sometimes.
So
but-
you had touched on something about people being, financially independent, but we kind of didn't touch on being financially free, and that's something you just achieved recently, correct?
No, not recently. I mean, this is
ongoing.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have like my people in place, and I do pull loans for certain things. We set them up. I mean, I know how to read an amortization schedule, so I also know how to manipulate an amortization schedule. And so because of that, we tend to try to pull as much or as minimal debt as possible, because 2008, 2009 was
Of course.
some rough years for me,
Taught
man.
you a lot,
Yeah,
yeah.
Man, that was
So-
the spanking I don't ever want again.
I mean, kind of off topic real quick. So the direction that the housing market is in now, I always like to ask anybody who's kind of in it, do you see similar trends for a crash now, or do you think we're going to be like California and 60 years later there's still no crash?
Well, I've been saying there's going to be a crash. There's going to be a crash. There's going to be a crash pre-COVID.
Yeah.
It was almost like things are ramping up and ramping up. What I'm seeing now is I definitely see the same exact trends. And I talk with my buddy Vern all the time because he's heavily involved in mortgages still. And I'm asking him questions, things like that. And I sent him a message the other day. Like, we have weird conversations with my friends. My friends text each other their credit scores. And we're not acting like ballers and flossing and stuff like that. We're literally trying to help each other evolve.
Yeah.
And so my circle is real small, but we text each other our credit scores.
That's awesome.
And why do we do that? Well, because we know what it means to have a good credit score. And
Accountability and the doors it opens.
We kind of do stuff like that. But I'm talking to him, and I sent him a message the other day. I said, hey, what's the hot item right now? He says 100% occupied. 100% financing, non-owner occupied, stated income. I'm like, wow, 2008 all over again. He
Seriously.
goes, it's coming.
That's
But I
interesting.
don't know.
Yeah.
I can't predict anything. Do I see a lot of same similarities? Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's just, for
I
the
think-
people at home.
I think the biggest difference between 2008 and now, I'm not a real estate expert by any means or anything, but the biggest thing I see is just the inventory supply, because the inventory right now is still so low and housing rates are so high. It's like it caused a bunch of foreclosures, which then screwed everything up in 2008 because
Correct.
they held these houses. But now, since the inventory is still so low, even if someone were to go bankrupt and have to foreclose the house, most times they can sell the house
And get out of
quickly and not actually have the foreclosure in that sense. So I guess because I saw this chart and like inventory was sky high and it's super low right now. So I would be curious because I don't think there's that many foreclosures that could happen, but it could be. I definitely feel like the prices are going to go lower too because the buying power is going down because interest rates are going back up.
Foreclosures are coming. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
Foreclosures are coming. But the inventory thing, I really feel like it was based off of COVID. Like, I think
The
people...
supply of getting the material and...
Well, no. I truly believe that people have reprioritized their lives after this pandemic. See, I never thought I would live to go through a pandemic. You read about it. I'm a history buff. I love a lot of history.
Spanish
And
flu,
talk about the
all that.
Spanish
Yeah.
flu and the bubonic plague and all that crazy stuff back in the day. I never thought we would
You made
live
it.
Yeah, I never thought we
Look
would
at
go
us.
through a pandemic. But one thing that I did notice is that a lot of people started shifting their priorities.
True.
And so, the workforce might be really weak right now. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think people really care about their jobs anymore.
No.
And I don't think people want to work for companies who treat them like crap anymore. And the fact that you can work from home now has changed a lot of things. And so if I were to predict anything, I would say the commercial real estate would collapse before the residential.
I was
I
looking
could
at
see
that as
that.
well. As somebody, recently I was trying to look for a piece of commercial real estate to put a studio in. But I have a hard time paying, $1,500 for your 850 square foot piece of shit, on the bad side of town, So I've went a different direction. But I was looking at all the, just driving around downtown, and if I saw like a for lease sign or office rent, office suites for sale, I would call the number. 90% of the time they don't answer anyway.
Yeah.
But the amount of office spaces for sale is just crazy because you can do it from home.
You can.
I mean, unless you meet with clients, which you can Zoom now, it's still free, So the demand to have an office space, I know me and Brad have talked about this, his goal is to be a 100% remote firm. Like, why wouldn't, you don't need an office space anymore. So I think you're spot on with that.
And
unless you're in production.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I could, if I could predict that, oh my God.
Yeah. Tell me, let me know.
You heard it here first on Lasting Legacy Podcast. And we will make a reel about it. 100%.
Yeah, for me, if I could have a remote firm, I would much rather just take my office payment and just get a bigger house.
Yeah.
And put it into my mortgage payment.
Yeah, no, of course.
And have a really nice home office, pretty much. I mean,
dedicated podcast set.
There you go.
I would love to move everything to my house, but then I also...
Here's a little different story.
In a weird way.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
I like how you and I met.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know how him and I met.
I don't really remember.
He took my concealed carry class.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was?
That was when people ask me what's the worst part about quitting the feds. It's not losing the healthcare and retirement. That does suck. It was losing concealed carry in all 50 states. So Anthony was able to help me gain back that concealed carry within my state and a few other states where it transfers over to. But in a super cool setup that he has at his undisclosed location.
Some people know where it's at. It's
really cool.
It's funny,
you meet up at Print Pros and you get blindfolded and put on a bus.
He puts us in the back of his truck and there's limo tin on it. I don't know. It's weird.
I like that. I'm still real picky as to who I allow come and take my class.
It's a great class, thoroughly. If you are luckily enough to be selected for his class, it's really good. It's not like any firearm safety course that you've done before, I promise.
Yeah, and I took that real seriously. There was a guy who was coming to Pueblo and giving, he rents out this hotel room and he teaches you a little bit about gun safety and then gives you the certificate and sends you on your way. And I'm like, wait a minute. You don't even have to handle a gun to get a concealed. This is scary to me.
Oh, it's terrifying.
And then I've had people who have came out of concealed carry classes, and I ask them questions about stuff that we talk about in my class.
Very
and
eye-opening.
they can't answer it. And so I'm like, man, that's scary.
It's really changed the way I've thought about and perceive, my old knowledge of okay, somebody's breaking into your car, but your car's parked on the street. Can you go out there and just start Rambo-ing this dude? As much as you would like to.
The answer to that question is $85 with my class.
Exactly. Check it out.
That's cheap.
And I mean, speaking out loud, but I feel like you can really offer a secondary class where it's more advanced. Obviously, it's not required to acquire a concealed carry, license here, but just for the actual person to get some more situational based and just really dive deep on that, and maybe more shooting and stuff like that. He has a really cool shooting simulator, and it's very realistic. There's recoil on the gun. It's not like a video game at all. It's really cool.
Working at the police academy opened up some doors for me, and when I became a master firearm simulator instructor, it gave me some other doors to walk through. And so I used to teach these concealed carry classes out at Warrior Kit in Pueblo West. It was a great facility.
It was awesome.
I'm behind everyone. I'm able to watch everyone as they're shooting. And when they closed that facility down, I started teaching at another place. But it was an outdoor range, and it's a beautiful range. But you do have element issues and wind. And then the other scary thing is sometimes you're downrange and people are behind you with guns.
Hell no. Yeah.
And, there was one incident that happened, and I'm a pretty nice guy. I kind of just chill. But if you rack a gun behind me while I'm downrange, I am going to lose my shit. And I did. And I made this lady cry. And, you know, I'm like, gee, I'm going to get shot for an $85 class. Like, this is just stupid.
My return on investment is not
Yeah, I'm like, you know, and I don't want to be wearing a bulletproof vest on the range and just look like one of those guys, you know. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to teach this class anymore. And then I had this space at my house, and I thought, man, you know, I really should utilize this somehow. So one year I met with the accountant, and she's like, you got to spend a little bit of money. So I was like, hey.
Perfect.
Yay.
I know what I could buy. I'm going to buy a firearm simulator. And I got a pretty sweet simulator.
It is really, really cool.
And so it's nice. It allows me to watch and know that you can safely handle a gun. And so when I give you that certificate, I feel comfortable that you can handle yourself.
So you know what you're doing.
Yeah. So send you on your way, and you're good to go. And I pray to God that, you know, you never have to use a gun, but...
Literally, me too.
I always wondered how the hell you like conceal carry and like live your normal life. Like, how does that work? Isn't it uncomfortable?
It becomes a part of you, honestly. And I don't even
I hate having my Samsung Note in my phone. I couldn't having a gun on my hip. I'd be like, this is fucking annoying.
You know, if I could shoot a Glock 43, you know, which for those non-gun people, it's a single stack, slim frame Glock that you almost forget about it, which is the scary part too. I've almost walked into Nuggets games with it, you know, and like you go through, you know, you can't go past anything with a metal detector with it. Now I carry a Glock 19 and I love it, and I don't notice it either. It's the right holster though.
You forget it's on you. Like I went to a UFC fight one time in Denver, walked right through the metal detectors, and when it went off, I was like, son of a bitch.
Oops.
You're like, oh, forgot this in my car.
And I pulled the lady aside, and I kind of told her, I said, look, I have a gun on me. And so the reason why I even talked to her about it, because the thought of going all the way back to my car and leaving a gun in my car, I mean, if I just thought,
Downtown
I
Denver.
wouldn't even have wore the damn gun. But you know what? It was kind of like a last-minute decision, and was like, oh, yeah, let's go to this fight. So I walked through the metal detectors. I pull her aside, and I said, hey, look, I have a gun on me. I am a police officer. You know, she says, hold on real fast. So she brought another police officer over, and I just showed him my credentials, and he said, hey, let me give you this band real fast. So he gave me this band. They allowed me to go into the fight still carrying. I mean, obviously they wouldn't allow anyone else to do that, but thankfully they allowed me. But it is real easy to forget you even have a gun on you.
Yeah, that's
you
crazy.
have it every day.
And my favorite thing about concealing and carrying a gun is I would prefer no one to know that I have it on me.
Yeah. Oh God, I hate when people are like at the line and they have their gun. They're like, "Oh, I'm fucking cool. Look at me."
The bikers are the ones who kill me with it. The young biker who has the open carry and he's got the biggest judge on him, and I'm like, oh my God, on the bike, all that.
I'm like, dude, you're getting lettuce and tomatoes. Fucking
hard out here in these streets, man.
It's rough. It's rough.
You're on the golf course, dude, or something.
Guilty for that as well. Anyway, so what, wrapping things up here, what was some advice that you would give yourself, your younger self now, with the knowledge and mental space that you're in? What's a piece of advice you'd give that guy who's rounding up the kids to, cut some lawns?
God.
Or even before that.
If I could go back and slap my younger self and say, you don't know shit, you're going to learn so much in life. Obviously, you can't do that. But if I were to go back and give my younger self any advice, it would be focus on getting your mind right. I went through life. And like I said, I don't talk about my childhood a whole lot, but I had a pretty rough childhood, man. And I can play victim all day long. But if I would have just had my mindset where it needed to be, maybe I wouldn't have been so defensive. Maybe I wouldn't have been so cocky. Maybe I wouldn't have done some of the crazy things that I've done. I would say it would just be focus on your mindset. Mike Tyson blew my mind on a podcast one time. I watched this man eat a bunch of shrooms. And you never know who's going to deliver a message to you that just makes you feel like, wow. But he's talking to this young kid, and this young kid is like, this person did this to me, and this person this, and Mike Tyson is like, whoa, you got to forgive him. And I'm listening. I'm intrigued. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, F that guy. He really went into this whole, and don't get me wrong, I really like to say the word fuck, but I'm trying to be,
Either way. Either way.
But he says, F that guy, and he just like really starts pleading his case. And I almost felt like I remember what it was like to be that guy. And Mike Tyson said, oh, he's your master. And I was like, did Mike Tyson just kick me some knowledge on trees?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's off 6 stems and a
He
cap.
says, man, this man is controlling your thoughts and your emotions right now, and he's not even here. You're a slave to him, and he is your master. And I thought to myself, wow. That right there alone
It's powerful.
would have been so much more powerful to me. I might have been further along in life, but I'm still happy where I'm at. But man, that just blew my mind. And I feel like I carried that hate and that animosity and all those emotions of my childhood and who I was and the people who were around me. I mean, I watched a guy at 14 years old shoot up and they threw his body on the railroad tracks. This is who my dad was. You know what I mean? Like, wow. I carried all that hate and animosity for so long. I would say mindset all day long.
That's awesome.
Focus on your mindset. Get that mind right. Forgive. Move forward. Stop looking in that rearview mirror. You don't live there. You don't belong there. That's what I would give.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Talk to a therapist. I go therapy.
Yeah.
I like it.
No, of course.
I mean, I don't
absolutely.
know why people think it's me, like going to a therapist is like going to a physician to get your checkup. You know what I mean? People don't see your mind like that, but it is like
You have to keep that in check.
you have to go to the gym, you have to work out at home, but talking to a professional once in a while, it doesn't have to go every week, every 6 months, once a year or something. Like you'd be surprised what really opens up just talking to someone once a year too, even.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And really helps you kind of shift that.
Yeah, that's huge, man. What are some of your goals moving on forward? You said you can't live in the past, so looking forward, what are some of those goals? It doesn't have to be professional, or you can stay personal, whatever you want, or okay, putting out there.
Man, I wish I could answer that question for you. I can tell you this. I do have a lot of goals, and I do have a lot of things that I want to accomplish, but I'm also focusing on the second half of my life. You know, I want to enjoy this second part of my life. For the longest time, it was always about the hustle and the grind and doing all this stuff. And I think that'll always be a part of who I am as a person. But I also want to stop and smell the flowers a little bit. And I also want to just kind of chill and
Take a step back.
And see who I become and who I evolve to be.
So this is interesting because the last week's podcast said pretty similar to you. So I'm curious, would you want to have taken that step back sooner, or do you like appreciate the trajectory you've taken, work hard, hustle, grind, all that, and then kind of relax, or do you kind of wish you mixed more of the relaxing in previous? Does that make sense?
You've done a lot.
I've done a lot.
You know, like,
I've had a great life.
A lot of people
man.
don't know how hardcore of a UFC fan you are, you know, things like that. I mean, I take a tour of his office. It's very interesting. But, you know, some of the crazy connections he has. So
I feel like the grind, the hustle, all that stuff got me to this place now, to where when I do sit down on the couch, I'm not worried anymore. I'm not stressed. I'm not worried about all this crazy stuff that I was normally worried about. And so I don't think, I mean, here's the thing, and this will go out to all the young people watching. If you're partying and you're hanging out with a bunch of stupid ass people all day long, you're going to lose. You're going to lose immediately. And I think that was one of the greatest things about me, you know, in who I was and who I became. You know, I'm not a partier. Mm-hmm. I never partied. I don't go to bars. I just don't that's just not my world. My world was always like, how can I make more money? How can I do this? How can I do that? And I feel like because I was like that, now for the rest of my life I could enjoy. I can sit back and just, hey, you know what? I don't want to go to work today.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I don't want to do that today. Maybe we'll fly out to Nashville. We go to church in Houston, so it's like maybe we'll fly to church and go do some stuff like that. But it's definitely, I don't think I look back and say, man, I wish I would have had more time. I feel like I did that while I was hungry. I'm not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but
It's all about maintaining.
If you don't do that, you'll never get in that position.
Makes
you
sense.
know.
Yeah, I was curious if I should take more vacations.
No, I don't know. I mean, I'm not the guy to answer that one, because I'll tell you no all day long. How old are you? No. You wait, no.
Yeah. That's what the last guy said as well.
Yeah, no, I was just,
Work more.
I was just really curious because it was it's kind of cool to have you guys on back to back.
Yeah.
Because they're very similar stories. Me and David, and I think a lot of people that listen to us, are in the younger phase. You know what I mean?
Grind, hustle.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I take time for myself. I go on vacations and stuff still, but majority of the time it's funny too, though. Even the vacations I do take, people still are like, "Oh, must be nice." I take one or two vacations a year, and
That's one of the things I hate more than anything is when someone says it must be.
oh, I hate that.
Drives
That's
you
the
nuts.
worst phrase ever.
And I'll have people, they're like, "Oh man, I wish I had your life." I'm like, "What does that mean?" Well, you travel the world. I'm like, "Oh, you follow me on Facebook. You know that's not real, right?" Like,
That's the highlight reel.
I work 80 plus hours a week. And one of the things, like, if I can tell a new person coming in, a new person hustling, a new person grinding, prepare for failure. I cannot tell you, most people don't succeed because they can't handle when they fall on their face. Most people can't get back up and dust themselves off and say, holy shit, that hurt. Let's not do that again. What they usually do is they run from it and go get something that's comfortable. If you can't handle the failure, you are never going to succeed. I used to wear my failures, because I have tons of them. I used to wear them on my shoulders like big, heavy bricks. And I would carry this failure around like crazy. Over the last 8 years, there are plaques on my walls now.
Yeah. That's
I'm
huge.
like, man, you should see what I learned from this. And you see this failure right here? Oh my God. I learned some amazing stuff from this failure. If you can't handle the failure, get out of the game.
Yep.
That's
Because
huge.
you're going to fail.
A
And
lot.
I fell on my face more times than I want to admit. But I'm very proud of my failures now.
That's huge.
Yeah, I feel like that's very common too.
Yeah.
You have to be can't be scared to fail.
You can't.
Yeah, when people say it must be nice, I always tell them, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is nice.
You know, it's funny. I one of the other sayings that people used to always tell me is they would say, "Jack of all trades, master of none." And for the longest time, I used to take offense to that, because I was like, "Gee, I'm not a master of anything. I am just a jack of all trades." But it was funny because I never knew. Do you know the rest of that saying?
I've heard it. I don't know it.
Do you know
So
it?
let them know.
Yeah, I've heard it. I just saw it on TikTok the other day, and I don't remember it.
It's jack of all trades, master of none, but still better than a master of one.
It's huge.
There you go.
And I'm like, God, man, you know, if I would have just did a little more research,
So just shit all over.
you know,
Yeah,
I could have definitely, aha.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. I
No,
don't
of
wanna,
course, yeah.
I don't want to do that.
You always think
to
of the good
anyone.
comebacks after the fight's over. In the
Exactly.
shower, you're like, oh man, that was a good one.
But
Yeah,
if I can, it's just that failure, man, and
that's
prepare for it.
nice. I mean, I feel like you've dropped a ton of knowledge bombs. So we just need one last knowledge bomb of what you want your lasting legacy to be.
Man, I can't answer that either.
Yeah.
You know, I can tell you there are things that really fill my bucket right now. And as I focus and reflect in the mornings about what I'm grateful for, I also ask God every morning, how could I be a blessing to someone? Send someone to me so I could be a blessing to them. And that's something I really, really like. I like being a part of other people's successes. That's why this job is so fulfilling to me. I do a sign for someone and then they tell me, oh my God, you have no idea how much money I made because of your sign. I'm like, man, this fills my bucket.
Yeah.
And right now, that's what I would say I would want my lasting legacy to die if I died right now. But I don't know who I'm going to evolve to be in 5-10 years. I'm excited to see who I become, but I have no idea. As of right now, that would be my legacy. Is I just want people to be, you know what, like happy I was a part of their success.
That's huge.
Well, I think he sent us, me and David, to you today
Absolutely.
to learn something.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
No, always
yeah.
learn when I talk to you and stuff like that. Like I'd stop by the office to like pick up my certificate, and I think I hung out there for like an hour and a half, and we just shot the shit about random stuff. Somebody came in needing a sign for a restaurant. He's like, "Hey, if you need photos and videos, this dude does it. Actually, let's just set that. How much do you charge? All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this, and then that includes video and photo." And I was like, "Holy shit!" Yeah. I mean, like just things like that. You know, if you put yourself in situations, then good things will come, you know.
And same to you guys, man. I've been watching you guys since you started, and I'm like, man, these guys are cool. Like, and then when you asked me to be a part of it, I was like, holy, why? Like, you know,
what do you mean, why?
I don't know what I'll bring to the table, but
the last hour and 10 minutes of is why, you know. You can just tell with some people, and you can definitely tell with you. So I want to thank you for coming on.
Well, it was an honor.
Thank you.
We'll probably have you back on, and we'll talk about very specific things. But yeah, we want to bring certain people back on. So I think it would be awesome. Maybe even do a round table with a bunch of collective people.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be really cool, just to bounce ideas off each other. But
Part 2 coming soon.
That's right. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. Good night.